Good morning. Sunday night chat, but it's Sunday morning because it's gonna be friggin' hot today, man. Holy shit. It's been over 100 degrees for the last few days in LA, and so that's a thing. I have to say, it's so funny when I sit down and start talking. Up until about 10 minutes ago, I was going to talk about a completely different subject. Then I was thinking about it while I was in the rinse cycle, and I thought, well, that's a good idea too. Let's just see what happens. Because you guys know me, I'm a one-take wonder. It's off the cuff, say the wrong thing all the time, piss people off from time to time, never my intention. But that's just how it is. And I have to say, in the summertime, it gets hot. In the wintertime, it gets cold. When people complain about the heat in the summertime, I'm always like, that's the thing. Now, in Los Angeles, I've been here for, I don't know, since 92. Do the math. 32 years, I guess. September will be, it's 32 years right now, actually, this month. So, what I've learned is September is the hottest month in Los Angeles. Every year, that's how it is. So end of August and through September, and sometimes even into October. Weirdly, for some reason, like in January, we can oddly have a 100-degree day. There's some weird thing that happens, I've noticed. But other than that, it's pretty nice here most of the time. I'll tell you what's crazy is I looked at the weather, the temperatures at my pad in Arizona on the phone the other day, and it was 89 degrees where my house is in Huachuca City, and it was 106 degrees here at the same time. So it was warmer here than Arizona. You'll hear the fans in the background, but you'll notice that the mic is not being fouled in the phone because I actually have an external mic on right now, and I'm doing the Wonder Hussy trick where I put the phone upside down so you don't see the dead cat on the mic. So I learned that from her. Thank you, Sarah. Now, I was going to get into this thing about what I do for a living and what I think about the state of construction and remodeling and things like that here. Because I got this thing in the mail, and I thought the artwork was super cool on here, and it's all these contractors and everything else, and I started perusing through it, and I thought this is a good topic, and maybe I'll get to that. But I want to start off with really the hopes and dreams for the channel, because I did a video the other day. It's pretty well received. You guys have to understand, those of you that are here all the time, thank you so much for being here. You're awesome. If it wasn't for your encouragement, I wouldn't keep doing it. So my numbers aren't crazy on YouTube, right? If I get a video that does 2,000 views, I'm like, that's awesome. That's awesome. I mean, I'm happy. I remember when I got to the point where I was happy if one of my videos got 500 views. Super stoked on that. Super stoked. But I understand that because my content is diverse. It's not every video I do is going to appeal to the greatest number of people. So there's that. But I did a video the other day with my buddy Rick, who was over here, Captain Rick, and that was fun. I know the audio wasn't great because the fan was blowing into the mic and you could hear it, but you could hear us speaking, so it wasn't really a problem. The first two comments were about that instead of the content of the video. I thought that was kind of interesting, but that's okay. So I've always wanted to do interviews with people. I find people fascinating. For as interesting of a life as you might think I've had, I meet people every day that have stories and things that they've done that I find way more interesting. So I think it would be fun because I like interacting with people and I like making people laugh and I like mentally screwing with them enough to put a picture in their mind that they can see that makes them laugh. And that's fun for me. I like interacting with new people. So And my friends know that. And Rick said to me, after we were talking about that, he says, you've always been a very good conversationalist. Because contrary to what some people think, women in general that I'm friends with that just keep talking over me all the time, I don't want to dominate a conversation. I don't want to just run on for 30 minutes nonstop. I'm not interested in doing that. Unless I'm telling you a story that's going to take 30 minutes, right? Then you just shut the hell up and listen to me, all right? Because if you derail me, it's not any fun. I've talked about that before. It's one of the reasons why I like this format here, because I just talk to my phone and nobody stops me. But I want to do more of that. And I was thinking about it. There's a lot to get to here that I hope I could put into an easy way for you guys to understand. You know me, I almost always bring it back. But there'll be a bunch of tangents here, so bear with me. That was a fun conversation with Rick, and part of what made that more fun is that we know each other, we've been friends, we've had these personal interactions, stories, and so you guys got to hear those stories. Like that sailboat story, I've been telling that story since it happened. I don't tell it all the time. Usually it just comes up if somebody mentions sailing, which doesn't happen all the time, or if it's somebody that knows the two of us, I can relate that story. So it really doesn't come up that often. So I'm glad I got to share it with you guys. A brief thing I also mentioned, I put in the description the links to the Instagram when I posted. I didn't do that. When you're on Instagram and you're trying to fly, maybe there's an easier way to do it that I don't understand, but when you're trying to fly through and go back, what was it, 4 years ago? 4 or 5 years ago? I can't remember. For me to get all the way back on my Instagram account to when that event took place, that's a thing. And as you're scrolling, you hit the wrong thing and it jumps back up to the beginning again. It's highly frustrating. Might be able to do it easier on the computer. I don't know. Anyhow, so I didn't do that. I apologize. But if you want to go to my Instagram and scroll back X amount of years, you'll see it. There's pictures. There's a good picture of me in the boat, like steering the boat through the marina. Excuse me. Again, I haven't spoken to anybody in 2 days. It's been so hot here the last few days. I've just been laying on the daybed with the fans on me, watching movies or on YouTube, trying not to spend money on eBay, which is another problem for me. Money. I need money. I need to make money. Because I have a money spending problem, as you guys know. But a lot of what I spend money on is what I need to spend money on, like the van. I spent some money on the van. I still have this leak thing. That's going to be an issue. I got to bring it back over there this week. I might have to fix it myself, and that's fine too. But then there's the house in Arizona. That costs money. There's my bills here. Just living, food, fuel, Bidenomics. We all know we're spending way more money than we were 3.5 years ago on things. So that's a thing. It's just milking us all dry, right? At the same time, I give people money that need it. In my family or somebody else, just depends. And I never consider that a loan because, you're almost never going to get the money back. I mean, I'm the type where I go out of my way to try to make that happen. Paying somebody back could take me a few years, as it did recently. That was another thing. I had to shell out like $1,500 to a buddy of mine that I owed for the last few years. And I was thinking about it, I probably gave out about $5,000 or so in the past year to my family, different members. Added up, if you were to add it up, I just gave my nephew some money to get out of my house in Arizona, so he'll be out on the 15th of this month, which is going to be great for me, because then I have my sanctuary back. And my sister was in there with her daughter and her son and a dog and a cat and a fish and whatever other animal she had in there. I'm sure the house is pretty beat up. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with the Rick interview. So I really enjoyed that thing with Rick, and I know it was super low tech. And then again, jumping back to something I had said before, I've got friends that for years have told me, Mike, you should do a podcast. And this is before podcasts were what they are now, because everybody's doing a podcast. I mean, Joe Rogan made it a thing, but there were people before him. And now you got that Sean Ryan guy who's great. Lex Friedman, phenomenal, right? I can go on and on and on. You guys get the picture. And the thing with those guys is they're great, and they have people on that are known people. You know who these people are. Excuse me. They are, they're household names, let's say, for the most part. And if you don't know who they are and you watch it, they're still talking about interesting things. And a lot of those people have met other people that come up in the conversation that you know who they are. So it all starts tying together, and it's interesting for you. The thing is I think you're interesting. The average human being walking around that has nothing to do with the entertainment business or the sports industry or any of that. You don't have to be some famous person to be interesting and have an interesting story. Look at me. Don't look too hard. It might hurt your eyeballs. I don't want to get too close to the lens on the camera and crack it, you know what I'm saying? Also, when I make these jokes, some of you just don't get it. Yeah, I like making that joke about, like, I need a hair and makeup person. I'm not going to have a hair and makeup person. It's fine. It's a joke. It's a joke. Another quick tangent. Speaking of jokes, I keep talking about wanting to do comedy. And so what's going to happen is you're going to start seeing more interviews here. And one of my favorite things on YouTube of all time is Kill Tony. Every Monday night's a live show. It's a 2 to 3 week delay. They're out of Austin, Texas. They're broadcasting from Joe Rogan's new club. I think it's called The Mothership. Dream would be to go there, put your name in at, get selected, and get a chance to do that 60 seconds, and then do that interview. I think I would do pretty good in the interview section at the very least. But you can't predict that happening. You can't go there and sign up and expect to get pulled. So I was thinking about it. I do the YouTube shorts. You you hold the camera vertical. You got a minute. So I think from time to time, I'll start doing like 1 minute bits on there. You guys will see it and you'll let me know what you think. I'll start doing that. I want to interview the people that I know as I can. So I really need to get back to Jersey at some point and do a road trip, there and hang out with them, because there's so many interesting people where I come from. And I think it would be fun to interview people that I've known since I was a kid, because they're going to bring up stuff that you guys will like about me from when I was young, much of which will verify the stories I've told you here. So I'm not bullshitting you. That would be fun. But the other fun thing is when I'm talking to those people, they always bring up stuff that I don't remember, or I don't have a full grasp on it because I don't think about it. Because people see you and hear you differently than you see and hear yourself. I don't know if you're aware of that or not. It was one of those things that when I did some acting in college, I took theater and all that. And then I came out to LA and I started studying, I mentioned it before, Nick Conte's Actors Lab in Beverly Hills. And that was great. That was formal acting training, right? And one of the things that you do as an exercise is you go out in the public and with friends of yours, and then they ask people what they think of you. You also do that in class. You just get up in class, you sit there, and then people tell you what they think about you without you saying anything, just based on how you speak and how you carry yourself and how you dress. So you get to kind of learn. This is an important experiment, by the way. There's a lot of people walk around thinking that they're the shit, or they're this, they're that they carry themselves a certain way, and they don't realize that a lot of people are looking at them 180 degrees what they think of themselves. So it's important to be grounded and understand how other people see you. That doesn't mean you have to care what people think about you. That's a different thing. Going through life not caring too much what other people think about what you're thinking or doing is a pretty freeing thing. But that comes with could come with a lot of turmoil and roadblocks in life, because it's easier to go along to get along. And that's what most people choose to do in life. And then a lot of those people end up not being super happy, and also not accomplishing all the things that they wanted to try, or the dreams that they had. because they're more concerned about just getting along with the people around them and making people happy. I never understood that, but I understand it 100%. That's why I'm talking about it. I just couldn't do it myself because I don't care about what people think about me. So that's why I've been able to do this, that, and this, and put my time into things that I want to put time into. It's one of the reasons why I've stayed single, because my time is my own. The problem with that is in case you haven't picked up on it, I've got severe ADHD. I jump from one thing to the next. You could tell that by the way I speak and how I'm talking about things. So I get into a thing, I get to the point where I master something, I tend to get bored with it, I move on to the next thing. And that's great for YouTube, for this channel, because I can show you all the different stuff I'm doing. I develop a skill, I move on to the next thing. But what I want to do is I want to combine all of those things into this channel where I'm also doing these interviews with people. And so what's going to happen is the house in Arizona. So there's going to be a lot of good content there for you guys as I remodel it. I want to build a shop next to it. I want to rip up a lot of the stuff in the yard. I want to put in vegetation that produces edible food, fruits, nuts, that sort of thing, berries, herbs, all that good stuff, and maintain that and create my own little oasis and cool spot in this area. At the same time, what I want to do is I want to invite people to come to the house and stay for a few days and let me interview them, and we could do this in a spot where we get to do stuff on camera that's fun. Like I'll have the wood shop there, so we could be in there, and maybe you want to learn how to do something, I could show you how to do it, or you could show me something, or you want to throw some tomahawks or knives in the backyard, or talk about the plants, or firearms, and all the stuff that I'm into doing, that I'll have all these little areas around the house where it'll look cool. I'll be able to set up the camera and some mics, because I'll get more pro, even some lighting to make me look like an angel. Ah. So, I'll pull all that off. Who knows? The channel gets big enough, maybe I'll get an editor or something. I don't know. I have no interest in editing. Thought about it for a long time. I bought the computer to do it. I'm not going to learn how to do it. I mean, maybe basic stuff at some point, but it's crazy. So that's the plan. That's the plan. But also do my road trips, meet people, and try to interview them at their pads or wherever I'm at. I could just do this makeshift setup and have a conversation. I thought about calling, because I do this as the Sunday night chat, right? I've got the Palooka Watch channel. When I do the watch thing, I come up with these terms all the time. I've created a lot of hashtags. I used to take pictures of all the hashtags. So I'll do a hashtag, there's nothing there, so I'll go to the hashtag, and I'm the only post there. So I know that I've invented that hashtag. I'm pretty good with it. So I thought about calling the interview videos a fly on the wall conversation. Something along those lines, a fly on the wall. Because that's what it is kind of like. Like you're just kind of sitting there off to the side, and I'm just having a conversation with somebody. You happen to be a voyeur to that, rather than just playing for the camera, right? It's important to include you guys and look at the camera from time to time so you understand that you are part of this. So, I get it. Now, jump to about a year ago, and I'm doing this on purpose because I think that video I did with Captain Rick the other day, it's got like 1,700 views. I think that'll grow over time. The title probably isn't... we touch on so many topics. I thought about a lot of different ideas. I thought about, Captain Rick, from engine mechanic to boat captain, something like that. But the title of I want you to meet one of my favorite people, I think that's a great intro for every video that I do, as long as that's accurate. I don't like lying. It might be, I want you to meet an interesting human being. They don't like that much. I don't know. It would be funny. I'd love to have people on that I don't get along with. I think that would be a friggin' hoot, man. So for those people, if you're one of those people, you might end up on the channel. I love having my beliefs. Belief is a strong word. I like having my ideas and my positions challenged because it usually affirms where I'm already at, because I can typically defend my positions with accuracy. But the beauty is you got the computer. So you can go on and you can find a source for the information, and you can find pro and con interviews and that sort of thing for a lot of different subjects. But when you really melt it down and go through it all, you eventually, if you have the time and the wherewithal, you can get to the truth. And that would be fun. I'd love to turn people around here. That would be fun to do too. So that's kind of the plan. And about a year ago, excuse me, I'll never get over clearing my throat unless I've been out and about talking to people first for a few hours, and then it goes away. But about a year or so ago, and you notice I didn't clear my throat at that time. For 6 weeks in a row, I was asked to be on this radio show. I don't remember the name of it. The guy's name, he goes by Magic Matt Allen. So he was like this big time DJ, like in New York City, then again in LA, like the 80s into the 90s, I think. Daytime drive guy. And I didn't know who he was, never heard of him before. They're big fans of Wonder Hussy. They've had her on the show before. The way I heard it, Sarah contacted me and she said that they asked if I would want to do the show. I guess they saw me on in one of her videos. I was probably the Steel Pass video or something like that. And the guy realized I was in LA. He thought the van was cool. He did mention to me a bunch of times, 3 or 4 times in passing, that he'd like help with this car that he's got parked in his driveway. Like I'm some mechanic that was going to help him with that. And that ain't going to happen. I don't know if that was like an ulterior motive or not. Probably wasn't. But the point is, they had me on as a guest, and then he asked me to come back, and that's what it became. And it was fun. I learned a lot. It was interesting. But it was a commitment. So it was pretty much my Saturdays were shot, and I'm spending gas to drive there. And at first, they give you some booze and a cigar, and then afterwards they feed you, but it's not like some gourmet meal or something. They got this guy who was really cool, Marine Vietnam vet, really nice guy. I forget his name, I apologize. But he would grill some meat, so it was like sausages or burgers or something like that. That's all it was. It was very makeshift. The whole operation is makeshift, right? He's got this studio in his garage that's just, they don't clean it. I'm not picking on them, by the way. This is another thing I'll get to, but it's just covered in dust. The headphones that they give you are fucking, they're just scary. Right away, I started bringing my own headphones. They stopped giving me booze, so I had to bring my own. They didn't want to give me a cigar one time, and I didn't have booze or a cigar. That first time that happened, I was like, okay. Like, I was totally brain dead. Like, he was feeding me, but I wasn't in the zone. And then he learned, I got to give this guy a cigar. And so that was interesting. And which I could have dealt with all that, but on top of all that, he also has his brother there. And I don't think this is like a bad guy, but he's got, this is his life. If it wasn't for him being on that show, there'd be nothing interesting about this guy. You know what I mean? So any new person that comes in, that he's going to see as a threat, and he's going to act out on you. He said to me one day, he's like, I don't mean anything by it. I'm just, being this. And, I guess he figured that would mean that we're cool. But you can't tell me that, and then on air, keep trying to screw with me. Because I was like, after a while, it was getting to me. The thing was it wasn't even something I noticed. It was the other guys pointing it out to me, which was funny. Because I ended up doing a video where I said why I wasn't going to do the show again. And it wasn't directed at them. It was directed at you. It was because a lot of you started watching. They were helping their ratings, really. You were watching the videos when I was on there. I had a comment within the last week or two, was on one of my other videos asking if I was ever going to do that show again, and probably not. And this is why. I'm getting to it. So I did this video explaining it, and I was talking about, like, look, it's my own money to get there. It's all day Saturday. And now I'm bringing my own booze and everything, too. And meanwhile, I got this guy who is kind of being a douchebag towards me, right? Messing with me all the time. And I could take that and spin it on him on air, but believe me when I tell you, I'm from Jersey, man. You know, and you know, having been in the service and living the life that I've lived and done the things that I've done, I'd make him cry himself to sleep for the next 6 months. I don't need to do that. And it would be very entertaining to the people. And maybe that's what Matt wanted. I don't know. Maybe he needed somebody there. He never said anything to me about it. Matt had me over one day, and because I fixed his studio a little bit, because it was so poorly done. And I can't believe that they put their guests through what they put them through with this dusty place full of cigar smoke. And when you walk out of there, your clothes are just your cigar smoke. The first thing I did when I came home was I had to put that stuff in a hamper or even in a bag so it didn't smell up the rest of my house. And I had to wash it the next day right away. I had to take a shower right away. It was pretty bad. I mean, and they could fix that. They could do a lot of things. And I did something. I moved the curtain behind us back so it wasn't resting up against the back of your head. I can't believe it took me to come in there to do that. But that day he had a good talk with me about how to be on the radio. And I picked up a lot of good, you know, on the podcast. Picked up a lot of good tips from that. But he never told me what we were going to talk about. So I couldn't ever be prepared. Now, I don't need to be, as you guys know. I'm an off-the-cuff guy. I could sit down right now with anybody. Whether it be Lex Friedman or Joe, I'm not interesting enough for them to have me on their podcast. I'm just saying, 100%, I'm positive. If Joe Rogan saw one of my videos and said, oh, he's an interesting character, I'll have him on the show, I could hold my own with that guy for hours. No problem. I think it would be a lot of fun. Highly doubt that will ever happen. I'm just saying, I could do that. Don't care who it is. One of the things that really reinforced that with me was when I was doing the Matt Allen show. It might have been the second or third show I was on, and I don't remember the guy's name, but you could look it up. I'll try to remember to put links underneath this video. Maybe I'll do that this time. All the links to the videos that pertain to what I'm talking about right now. So, Costco? Bert Costco or something? It's coming to me. Super smart guy, PhD, and I think several different disciplines. I think he's a teacher at UCLA, professor. Also has written a bunch of movie scripts, friends with John Milius, all of that. He came on, I think he was there to talk about AI. Excuse me. And him being a professor, he's used to doing all the talking, and that was fine. But I held my own with him and interjected pertinent questions and kept the conversation interesting. And then after the show, I was talking to him. I brought up UFOs and all that, which he's not into. And I showed him the pictures that I have on my phone that I took myself with cameras. And we talked about a bunch of stuff that he didn't know much about, which I thought was interesting. And the fact that he wasn't curious about those things, I found even more interesting. And then in the beginning of that conversation, it was very hard for me to talk to him because he kept doing all the talking. He kept talking over me. And then I looked right at him in his face and said, hey, the problem with people like you, professors, is you're used to doing all the talking. You can't learn anything if you're the one always talking. And he looked at me, and he got it right away. He wasn't insulted by it at all. It made our conversation better, which was awesome. Because then I got to say, and then that's what made the conversation, and it makes his life easier. He's not responsible for carrying the conversation. So sitting there with somebody with that kind of pedigree, I'm not saying he's better than me or anybody else. I think you guys understand what I'm saying here. For somebody that's a known character that he's written multiple books, multiple screenplays, had movies made, rewrites, worked on films, worked with top-notch people, knows all these celebrities and everybody else and smart people and blah, 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 blah. For him to be sitting there having an articulate, intelligent conversation with a guy, with me, who lives alone, works alone in a garage. I sound like one of the dead-end kids most of the time to myself. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that reinforced in my brain, like, okay, this is good. Now, the reason I've always been comfortable talking to anybody, and I've been confident since I was young too, is because my father, I've said this before, he always just explained to me that nobody is better than anybody else. Everybody puts their pants on one leg at a time. You just treat everybody the same. Always be yourself. You'll be fine. John Lennon said it best. Always be yourself. Might not get you a lot of friends, but it'll always get you the right ones. So, me being me works for me. That's all I'm saying. So I did this video explaining why I wasn't going to be on that show anymore. And I didn't send the link to Matt. I just let it ride because I wasn't thinking about them. I'm not thinking that they're ever watching my stuff. And then a few days before the Saturday, I just wanted to send them a note like, hey, you know, because I hadn't been there the week before, I think. So I'm not coming, and I'm, you know, I don't remember what I said to him, but he wrote me back. He was cool. He said, we'll be talking about you this week. And so I watched it live. And they took my video, and I did by the way, I did 2 videos responding to this. And I will put the links underneath in the description to this video. I hope you guys will watch it. So this video, what I'm doing today is I'm talking about this because I want to prove something. And it's going to start happening. We'll get to that in a minute. So they did this video. They did their whole show, 3 hours, I guess it is, on me. Where they took the audio of my video and they played it on their show, but every sentence or every few sentences they stopped it, and then they just excoriated me and goofed on me, screwed with me. Matt uses this word neophyte. He's a neophyte. That's true. I don't see that as an insult. That's the truth. That's accurate. But that's not a bad thing. I see that as a good thing. In one of my rebuttal videos, I'd mentioned this. I said that he doesn't get it. He doesn't get YouTube. Like, he shouldn't be on YouTube if he's not going to change what he's doing, because he still has this zany morning radio show routine, you know, with the sidekicks, you know, the peanut gallery there. And he's playing to a particular audience that is shrinking, that likes that sort of format. So he's never going to grow. It's never going to get better unless he changes. Now, Matt is an interesting guy, and he knows a lot of interesting people that you have heard of. If he changed his format to a normal podcast, like the Sean Ryan or the Joe Rogan or the Lex Friedman, because he's got that great voice, that broadcasting voice, he could sit there, Bill Maher, as he calls him, right? He's like a conservative Bill Maher. If you put those two, as a matter of fact, that would be the ultimate conversation. Those two guys sitting in a room together, having a conversation, pointing out what they don't like about each other and each other's beliefs. If they could do that and have that conversation, that would be friggin' huge, man. And by the way, I would sit down with Matt and have this conversation with him if he could do it. I don't know that he could do it because I think he gets personally insulted, because he's got that air of celebrity about him to a degree. And those people feel like once they've reached some sort of status, that they should be respected more by us, it's lowly minions, the people that are entertained by them. I don't know if what I'm saying is accurate. He might not like what I'm saying. That's not an attack on him. I actually like the guy, and I respect the fact that he knows what he's talking about. I'm just saying. The other thing about that show for me was he was having a lot of people on that they did shit decades ago. I wouldn't go so far as to call them has-beens, because that sounds mean-spirited and negative, and I wouldn't want to attach that negative connotation to the term, but that's what they are, a lot of them. Like, that's what they did. They're not doing it now. Where are they, But it was cool for me. I mean, he had me on the phone. I was talking to Tony Orlando on the phone. It was very funny. We got along great. I was cracking him up. And he was telling Jerry Lewis stories, which was very cool. And so it was fun to meet all these people through him. That was a good time. But again, they did a whole show, 3 hours, excoriating me, fucking with me, screwing with me. And one of the points that they were making, because I said in my initial video, which again, I misspeak, I'm off the cuff. I'm a neophyte to this genre of entertainment and conversation. So neophyte, I'm not as sophisticated with the way to, word things and put them all together accurately. So I misspoke for sure in my video where I said I would want to do an interview with somebody, like some famous person, and not know everything about them. So I can get to know them with you, because just because somebody's famous, they've been out there, and millions of people know who they are, and they know their bio and everything. Not everybody does. I don't know anything about most celebrities that are out there. I don't know their life story and everything. So, in my mind, and this might be incorrect, it's incorrect according to Matt, is I think it'd be fun to have somebody on and be like, so where are you from? Oh, what was that? Okay. And organically come up with these questions that would get them to talk about. Now, of course, I would say, or preface before the video, before I turn it on, say, is there anything that's off limits? I don't know anything about you. Can I take you from here to here? Or do you just want to talk about a particular thing? I can do that, obviously. Not a problem. I understand that. But going in not knowing everything and getting to know it, and then being shocked, surprised, bewildered, and having that be a natural, organic thing in front of you, I think that helps you be better entertained, because you're probably going through the same thing I'm going through. I think that that's cool. So I thought that was not an accurate criticism, but they were goofing on me about that. Oh, how's he going to do a show? If he's not going to have people, that's stupid. Oh, okay, fine. So I did my rebuttals and everything else. But here I am now, where the conversation you saw that I had with Captain Rick demonstrates the sort of thing that I want to do. And I'm going to do more of it. And there's people watching this right now who I'm absolutely going to have on this channel. And I'm going to talk to them in a similar fashion as I did with Rick, with better audio. And eventually better lighting and everything. And a hair and makeup person? Oh my God. I crack me up. It's something you have to learn how to do when you live alone, you know what I'm saying? Speaking of being alone, that show Alone, somebody recommended me, I was talking to my drill instructor the other day, Gunnery Sergeant Zick, he was a staff sergeant at the time. He's like, you should do that show Alone. You'd be great on that show. You could do that, because you live alone already. You wouldn't be worried about going home to your family, so you could do it. I'm trying to talk like him, but I can't make myself sound like a 1930s gangster from Chicago. If I thought about it enough, I could probably get the accent down perfect. That's what he sounds like. That guy was so fucking funny in boot camp, man. Love that guy. And then I watched, there's this Mr. Beast guy. He's like, what's he got? Like tens of millions of followers or subscribers or something. He gives away money, does these shows. I think I've watched 3 of his videos ever. And one of them was the other day. He had men and women, 2 different teams, out in the woods. I think they went over 60 days. There was 5 people per team with some basic supplies. And that was a really interesting thing. But I'm looking at that going, who are these people? How did these people get selected? Because they didn't seem to have many survival skills. And the women did way better with their communication and everything else. But the guys were horrible. And there's, I have this thing. It's going to sound racist. Don't mean it to be racist. It's not what it is at all. It's just an observation. I grew up in New Jersey, and we moved around a lot. And my dad had a seasonal business at the Jersey Shore. Now, where I eventually went to high school down there. And when I went to high school, it was mixed. There was a lot, it was black people, white people, all kinds of people. But in Seaside, it was pretty much all white people at that time. And where I came from up north, it was everybody, right? It was everybody. We didn't have Mexicans there. It's mostly Puerto Ricans at that time. So half my class from, I remember 4th to 8th grade, I lived in Patterson. I went to PS 27, And half my class lived in the projects, black Puerto Rican kids. So I grew up around it. I had black friends, In the Marine Corps, same thing. People of all different races. You learn to get along with everybody. But what I noticed about a lot of the black people I knew, not all of them, generalizing here, generalizations and stereotypes exist because generally, over the course of time, they prove to be true. So when you use a stereotype or a generalization that appears to seem negative, particularly to the people in the group that you're discussing, that's their problem. It's not necessarily meant to be. If it's the truth, it's the truth. If you specifically don't hold true to that stereotype, that's you. Good for you. If it's a negative thing, or if you think it's negative, good for you. Keep being the good person you are, but stop pretending that the people in your group, generally speaking, aren't doing these things, because they fucking are. If they weren't, people wouldn't be saying these things all the time. This is the sort of thing I want to talk about more, and I want to talk about it with those people right here sitting next to me, so I can get them to admit that what I'm saying is the truth. This dancing around the truth is a real problem for me. Can you tell? So this Mr. Bean thing, the women, as I recall, it was all white women. This is not a racist thing. It's not about race necessarily. I'm just saying, these are observations I made. With the men, there was 2 black guys in the group. I think the rest of the guys were white. One guy could have been like maybe half Mexican or something like that. Now I'm bringing it up because I've discovered through my own observation with my own personal experience, a lot of the black guys they're funny because they can be, it's always about them a lot of the time. This can happen to anybody. Plenty of egotistical white people and Hispanic people and everything else. I just find that the white guys are more, they tend to want to understand teamwork better, is all I'm saying. Like, I have a theory, and I proved it. This is horrible. I know this sounds horrible. I don't mean it to sound horrible. If you were gambling and you're watching an NFL game, this is a effed up thing to say, and maybe it's not true anymore. Maybe things have shifted. We're living in a different world today. I have to admit that. Because I was going to talk about the construction stuff, and I wanted to say that I think it's different today than what it was even 15 years ago. But if you got 2 teams on the field, and you had to place a bet, I would bet against the team that had the most black players on the field at any given time. Great athletes. It's not, the race thing is not about being athletic or anything else. Like, white people are less athletic than black people. I think we got plenty of examples that that's just not the case. It has nothing to do with the race at that point. Phenomenal black athletes out there. The problem is the teamwork aspect of things. Like, I don't know if anybody's done this study, and you probably couldn't do it today because it would seem racist. But if you were to look at, I stopped watching the NFL so long ago, I can't even remember the terminology anymore. In baseball, it's errors. In football, it's flags, throwing penalties. So if you were to look at penalties and look at which players have the most penalties, and then just happen to look up what race they are, and I could be wrong here. I could be 100% wrong. I'm not being racist. I'm just objectively saying. I think you could probably bet money that if you had to look at the race of the people, probably, I could be wrong, the black players would probably have more penalties than the white players. Now, the only reason for that, in my opinion, is the me thing. I'm more important than the team. I'm the star. I'm this. I'm that. I deserve this. I deserve that. That's a problem. So they might be right, depending on who it is and what the circumstances are. But the feeling of feeling slighted all the time, and the fact that society keeps reinforcing this idea. So if you're a young black kid and you're growing up, if it wasn't for people, I'm just saying, I'm not a black person. I haven't had this experience, but I know a lot of black people. I grew up with a lot of them, and I know what they all talk about and the experiences they've had that they've shared with me, with feeling like you're walking through a store and somebody following them around because they think they're going to steal something. Or they're walking down the street and somebody crosses the street to get away from them just in case, because, crime and that sort of thing. All of that. At the same time, where I grew up as a kid, black people would try and intimidate you just because they're black. Like, you're supposed to be scared of them because of the color of their skin. And that doesn't, well, bam, I don't give a shit. Like, that's silly. When I moved to LA, that's what I encountered. There's a thing here, this is like the most racist place I've ever lived. But then again, I think that also came with the way culture has shifted. Like, when I was a kid, there was no rap music, didn't exist. So all the kids I went to school with, they all spoke English properly. You know what I'm saying? Like, when you were in English class, everybody pronounced the words properly. All right? Rap came along, everything else, this rap culture got invented. This became part of the black culture, which is funny because it was created by a white guy, and white people made billions of dollars off of it, creating this false narrative of a culture that now everybody thinks is cool and be a part of it. But when you look at the overall message of it, it's kind of a shame because it reinforces stereotypes that aren't positive, and that's horrible. Like, I had a great conversation the other day with the VA thing. It turns out to be Mike Tyson's brother. He's a brain surgeon. I think that's what he is. But he was talking to me about my ankles. This guy was awesome. We actually had part of the conversation was he was talking about a member of his family spending all their money on cars and whatnot. And he used a term, and it was I forget what the term he used, but it was a politically correct version of the term. And I looked at him, I said, well, and no offense, we've been talking already for a while here. It's not, I don't like the N word. I've never been a fan of it. I've used it in my life very sparsely when you're repeating something where that was part of it. I don't like the fact that we can't say it. And when I do comedy, I'm going to maybe say it at some point, talking about it as the whole subject of a bit, where you end up saying it like 100 times for the sake of reinforcing the fact that it's just a word and it's silly. That we've gotten to the point now where it's so taboo that you have to say the N-word. It's such a bizarre place that we're at right now, because you should understand, and this is the problem, this is what the root of it is, with a lot of the black athletes when they're younger. Because when we're young men, we're all messed up. But it's this emotional thing, not being able to control your emotions. And that's what's going to screw up your game and your play. And that's why I have that theory about betting against that, because they're apt to create more penalties. That's all I'm saying. And it was funny talking to this doctor, because I said, well, in the old days we had a term for that, and no offense, but it was the N-word. It was N-rich. And he looked at me and just started laughing. He goes, that's exactly right. We say the same thing. So it was such a cool bonding moment where I think it would be fun to have him here sit. Matter of fact, I'm going to reach out to him maybe. But it'd be fun to sit there with him and have that conversation and just be real about it. That's what's cool. It's dancing around and allowing, because you see it. I see it all the time when that people are trying to have that conversation. And I see black people in the conversation, and I love it when they're real smart and they know what's happening and they understand that, oh, this person's afraid. They're afraid to use certain language around me and everything else, and you could see it. And they see that as a weakness, the fact that you don't have the balls to speak the truth to them. That's a problem for me. So I kind of lost my train of thought there. I apologize why I wanted to get into that. Hopefully it'll come back to me. But my point there is none of that is racist. It's just being factual. So I would just, if I'm going to have a conversation with people here, I want to keep it as real as possible. And if somebody wants to come along and point you out, try to cancel you or whatever, like the threat I got from the 180-pound MMA trained lesbian that threatened to just show up here and beat my ass. She wasn't going to take my knees out. She just wanted to teach me a lesson, was what she wrote in her stupid email to me. That's fine. I can't help how you see things. That's fine. But the people that know me the most, I've had black girlfriends, man. I like the sisters. They like me too. Funny thing, the really big ladies, the sisters there, boy, that's some dangerous stuff right there, man. Because So I had this saying when I was a bartender. I had to come up with this. It's like when I first moved to LA. Within a couple weeks of living here, I had to come up with this mantra. Treat everyone as gay until proven straight. Because I had this thing where I was just saying things in normal conversation that could be taken as offensive. And it was pointed out to me by a bunch of gay people I was talking to. Everybody out here was friggin' gay. But when I started tending bar, so let's say you're working the bar, and or even being out at a bar. Maybe we'll get into some of the bartender stuff too, but if you're out at the time, when I was young, and I was sober, by the way, when I first started tending bar, my first night tending bar, I don't drink or smoke or anything like that when I'm doing something, especially if I'm getting paid for something. I'm not going to be stoned or drinking beer or booze when I'm building a house or something. Same thing when I was tending bar. I wasn't going to be drinking when I was tending bar. You got to do math. You got to use the cash register. You got to be on it, right? And everything I do, I put 100% into, right? So my first night tending bar, I remember watching people get progressively drunker because of me. It was their choice. They were paying for it. And I remember watching these dudes just get smashed to the point where they were so obnoxious, and the pickup lines on the girls and everything else, just the behavior. I didn't want to be associated with that. So cold turkey that night, I went sober. No drinking, no smoking grass, nothing. So the whole 5 years as a bartender at the Jersey Shore alone, sober. But when you are out and when you are drinking, or even when you're not drinking, what am I saying? It has nothing to do with whether I was drinking, because it used to happen then. Fat chicks. So if you, no offense, ladies, but you know who you are. Although some of you are delusional and don't think you are, or you don't think there's anything wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with it. Be whoever you want to be. But if I can hold your underwear up like this and put my hands out like this and block the camera so you can't see me, you're fat. So, no such thing as large bone. All right? You're fucking fat. So, I'm just saying. Nothing wrong with it. Just saying. When I was out, and even when I was tending bar, if I look over and I look across and there's a large lady there and she's locked eyes with me, what I learned, I learned this pretty quick. Okay, I locked eyes with you. Okay, now I'm out here looking around again, doing my thing, talking to my friends, laughing. I look over again. Oh, shit, locked eyes again. That's the oh, shit moment, because you've got less than 5 minutes before that woman is right next to you, man. She's right there now. Hi, oh, let me buy you a drink. And oh, my God. It's crazy. But some of them were pretty cute, and, who am I to deny anybody? So, very, very grateful women, some of that. It's just not what I want to be with as a partner, that's all. For an hour or so, it's fine, but to live with it, can't do it. I can't afford the food, man. I'm too poor to go out with a big girl, you know what I'm saying? But the sisters, man, the black girls, the big black girls, they're awesome. They're so funny. Because not in a bar setting where you're just out. I'm having these recollections. There's been so many times where I'll go to an office or something. Actually, it's black women in general. I love them. Because there's no bullshit with them, man. They look at you, if they like you, they tell you right there. Boom, they're on it. But the bigger girls, like, they're big in everything. They're big in their appetites. Not just with the food, but everything about them. And that includes their sexuality. And if they like you, they are going to let you know. Because there's been several times where I've had to go to like a doctor's appointment or something, or dentist appointment, whatever it is. You go in, I'm just thinking, because there's been a lot of them that have been receptionists, like behind the glass or whatever. And like, oh, hi, oh, look at you. I mean, they are putting it out there, letting you know right now, you just laid eyes on them for the first time, and in less than a minute, they're letting you know we can go in the closet right now and get it on. And I love that. I love that they have that, but that's a lot. I've mentioned this before. I'm slimming up on purpose, by the way, as I get older. It's a normal thing. I'm trying to eat less food. I'm eating cleaner. I had that gout issue with my foot, so I have to be careful what I'm putting in my system. I think it was more brought on by alcohol, and the combination of that with processed foods is what did it for me. But wow, I just totally lost my train of thought there. I was talking about these women, what they want and their appetites, and just totally went out the window when I started talking about that. Oh, shrinking. So even muscularly, now I'm throwing it around a little bit. I'm going to keep some size and get more fit. Eventually, when I'm living in Arizona, I'm going to get jacked at that point. And I don't mean like overly big like a bodybuilder, but I'm going to be very, very fit when I'm living there. And tan all over with no tan lines. So, it's my plan. But I always walked around, I mean, for a long time, for decades, I walked around at 200 pounds or more of muscle. And what I learned from talking to these bigger ladies is that, because I didn't get it at first, like for years, I didn't understand what that was about. And what they'll tell you is if they look at you and you look like you could pick them up and manhandle them, that's a turn on for them, because that's what they want. So if that's what you want, ladies, and you can't find it, stop eating. You'll find a guy that can pick you up eventually. Just cut the weight, man. Cut the weight. I'm pissing off everybody today. Anyhow, this is just how it is. This is the plan. I want to talk to people. I want to talk to everybody. When I get the house going, I'll create kind of a studio atmosphere. But I think I'm going to have different corners of the pad. The pad's going to be cool when I remodel it. I mean, my apartment's like the ultimate man cave here, but I'm going to have the man grotto. I don't know what to call it, but it's going to be a man compound is what it'll be. It's a little corner lot in this little town in Arizona. And we could do it outside. We could do it in the wood shop. We could do it in the mechanic type shop in the garage. We could do it in the living room. In the kitchen. Everything's going to be cool. It's going to be well done, and it's going to look just cool naturally anyhow, just the way that I set it up. I hope you guys will stick around for that. One of the other aspects of it I think is going to be fun is, I'm going to keep the Astro van. I mean, unless I upgrade. So I'm going to be doing these trips. And I want to meet other YouTubers, and I like the nomadic YouTubers and the people that are living in their vehicles. And I'm friends with quite a few of them. And if I'm not good friends with them, at least some of them know who I am, and I've discussed certain things with some of them. I've met some of them. So what I would love to do is be able to say, hey, if you're out and about and you want to cruise through the area, come by, stay here, park here. You got a kitchen and a bathroom. You get to sleep in a bedroom for a while if that's what you want to do. If you want to back your vehicle into the backyard and live out of that, that's cool, because we could shoot that, and that would be fun. We can get to know each other, and it's a little respite from what you're dealing with, and do your laundry and do your editing yourself and everything else. And I think that would be fun to have people visit me there as they're roaming around. And again, Tombstone is around the corner. Bisbee's down the road. The mountain, we're surrounded by mountains that have all kinds of cool history. There's going to be plenty for me to do right there in my own backyard that I think you guys are going to be into. So I guess this Sunday night chat is about the plans for the channel. I'll come up with a title that'll be okay. I hope you guys like it. I don't know. I have to write more too. I've been very lazy about that. I was always a good writer. When I was a kid in school, I didn't realize it. We had to write a story. The teacher always said to me, like, you're a very good writer, because I was very imaginative and I'd create these scenarios. And I guess it's time to go back to that and start using that. Because right here, all I do is I'm laying around and I have these thoughts about what I want to talk about. I mull it over in my head a little bit, and then I do it. And then it's done. I don't have to think about it. But it would probably be smart for me to start writing stuff down. Too lazy. I got other things on my mind. With that, I think we've been in about an hour. I like to keep these to about an hour or less for you guys. I don't want to waste your time. I could easily keep going for another hour, easy. I might do that as an experiment for you guys one day, maybe to prove a point to somebody. I don't know who, but somebody. Because I feel pretty certain, I think you guys know this already, I could probably talk to you right now the way I'm doing it for 3 hours. Nonstop, with no input from anybody else. Because this doesn't stop, this thing. And if anybody over there at the Matt Allen show, whatever the heck that's called, sees this, I'm not picking on you. I'm grateful for that opportunity. I'm glad that I did it. Learned a lot. And who knows? I still think it'd be fun to sit down with Matt and talk to him, but I'm not going to put that out there at this point. If the channel keeps growing, well, the channel's going to keep growing. Thank you, all of you. Super appreciate it. If I could get big enough to where he sees it, and if he could be humble enough to recognize it and want to sit down with me, I think that would be fun. I think it'd be good for his show too. And if he is watching, or if somebody knows him, sees this and sends it to him, Matt, keep doing what you're doing, because I know you have your market in the Midwest and Wisconsin, the cheeseheads and all that stuff, and that's who you're talking to, basically. And those are all good, people, conservative-minded, smart people, I suppose. But consider doing, changing your Saturday thing to just a podcast, or just add that. Just do a thing where you're just sitting down one-on-one in club chairs. I think he's got some of the furniture from The Tonight Show in his backyard in boxes and wrapped up with plastic. I think that's true. I was told that. Maybe it's not there anymore. Use that. I remember them telling me that he had that. I'm like, you got plenty of room in the living room. Let's set that up and set that up as a stage, and that should be your thing, man. I feel like if he did that, I think he would grow exponentially pretty quick. And that format for him would surpass what he's currently doing on his Saturday thing. I think it'd be a smart move for him, but I can't tell anybody what to do. It's just a suggestion. With that, my next thing is I'm going to get on the computer. I'm going to find the links to all 6 episodes that I did on his show. The link to the video I did explaining why I wasn't going to make it. The link to their video where they just excoriated me. And then the link to my 2 videos responding to that. In chronological order for you guys to check out in the description of this video. For those of you that care, it sounds like drama. This is not drama. It's just, you're part of it, man. Those of you who are watching my videos, because there's a solid, I think there's about, out of the, what are we now? We're at 11,100 and something. I was hoping to catch it when it hit 11,111, but when I looked at it this morning, I was already above that. So I missed that because I thought that'd be a cool screenshot to save. So out of all those subscribers, I probably count on about 1,500 of you that are trying to watch most of my videos. You're not watching my watch stuff, and I don't blame you. But if it's me sitting here talking or whatever, that's about right. So there's 1,500 of you that I owe, in a way. So it's for you guys that I keep doing this. And thank you again, because the comments are what keeps me going. The positive comments in the bottom there that are just kind of spurring me on to keep this up. I really appreciate it. If it was all criticism and people telling me you suck, well, I'd probably do more videos then. I don't know. Just to piss you off. What is it that what am I saying that's pissing people off? Okay, let's do more of that. just for my own sick sense of humor, because I don't give a crap. Anyhow, that's it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. If you're in Southern California, I hope you're staying cool. Which, by the way, that's one quick thing. It's typical. It's typical. Here he goes. He's going to talk for another 15 friggin' minutes. The house in Arizona actually has air conditioning. So I'll be able to be, because when I'm here when it's this hot, it's hard to even do the leather stuff or anything because you're just sweating. I've been doing some watch videos lately. I do it in the kitchen because I get that indirect light, and I got to put the bandana on because I'm just drenched. I'm sweating. So that'll be helpful. And also the backyard, there's a little porch overhang, so I'm going to screen that into. There's a bunch of cool stuff that I'm going to do, and I just can't wait, you know. But I have to keep money rolling in. So big part of that is you guys. In my analytics on Facebook, there was a note. I don't remember the numbers, but apparently part of the reason for the channel growth in the last month and a half or so has been through recommendations. You people have been sharing my videos, which is I don't do that often. I share videos. I don't accept friends requests on Facebook unless I know you. So I apologize because I get it all the time. And also, listen, emails. I've been getting a bunch of emails. I read them. I read all of them. I don't respond to all of them just because of the time factor. Sometimes people ask me for a favor and I'll do it, but then I don't get back to them because I don't think about it because I'm too busy. I got too much on my mind, and I distract myself mentally on purpose for long periods of time every single day with watching a movie or something, or getting lost on YouTube and feeding my head with things that I'm curious about, because I don't want it to be all of it. If you're thinking about yourself all the time, just you and what you can do and all that, I mean, I guess it can help you succeed in life better. Maybe I should have been doing that. Shit. I've been really screwing up. The problem with that, though, is that then you're at risk of becoming like this, your ego becomes too much of a thing, and you could become narcissistic and then unlikable. So you could be putting all this work into yourself with these hopes and dreams, but you don't realize that you're also kind of destroying your likability. And you should never underestimate the power of likability. Likability in this world right here, particularly with YouTube, is the number one thing. If you're not likable, nobody's going to watch. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's examples of people who aren't likable, but their content is so compelling that you're going to watch it anyhow. I don't know. Maybe I'm talking out of both sides of my mouth there. Typical. But you guys, I think you understand what I'm trying to say. So I'm trying to keep myself humble in a way where I'm staying composed and just staying a normal human being, because I don't like that when I see that from other people. The arrogance is something I don't like. It's why I don't like Bill Maher. And that's the thing. With people, like I mentioned with Matt, like if you get to a point where you've reached some some level of celebrity, people know who you are, and then that gets to your head. You know, if you can't maintain that, you can get bitter over it. And if you really want it and you never achieve it, you can get bitter over that. We had a guy who used to live here like that. I might do a video talking about that at some point. But you understand what I'm saying? So I'm going to try to keep it humble and keep being myself. But a big part of that is me not thinking about me all the time, and not even working on everything I need to do all the time. I distract myself purposefully because I get too stressed out over it if it just becomes about me and what I'm trying to do all the time. I have to separate myself mentally from my life daily to get by. That's just me. You probably don't have that issue. You're probably doing a lot better than I am. Financially and everything. I got a wife and kids and you're happy. I hear what I'm saying. I don't learn from it. Okay, go away now. I'll talk to you guys next time. I hope you enjoyed it. Honestly, thank you for being here. It's so cool. Be good to one another. I'll catch you in the next one.